Hi, beautiful people. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing well. So much has been going on these past few days, and it seems as though Gypsy Rose is back to posting on her social media, being vocal, and showing her true colors. We're going to get into all that. She made an appearance on Fox LA, and she was a guest speaker at the San Francisco University, speaking about prison reform, which I feel is a total joke. She also seemed to have been very quiet about this press tour, or if this was a press tour, so let's talk about it. In this video today, we're going to go over her appearance on Fox LA. And for me, her appearance and her demeanor demonstrated and solidified for me that Gypsy is a manipulator, a con artist, a scam artist, whatever you want to call it. This interview showed me that Gypsy Rose is moldable and she has not changed and continues to be the scam artist, the con artist, the malingerer her mother taught her to be.
Everyone has a story, but our next guest has one that is both horrifying and heartbreaking.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard went to prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder, the murder of her mother. And throughout her childhood and beyond, Gypsy's mother would tell people her daughter suffered from a string of illnesses and disorders, going so far as to do things that included making her use a wheelchair, a feeding tube, get multiple unnecessary surgeries, and take medication she didn't need.
Years of physical, mental, and medical abuse led to Gypsy convincing a man she met online to kill her mother. She served 7 years of her 10-year sentence. She was released last December. Gypsy tells her story. She adds details that have never been heard before in her new memoir, My Time to Stand. And Gypsy joins us this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're pregnant, by the way, so congratulations on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
You're having a little girl, you said?
I'm having a girl, yes.
Do you have a name yet?
We haven't picked out a name yet, but we have a lot of options.
It's interesting, right, when you are in the process of becoming a parent, how you will find how that will change you as a person. And going through the experience you've gone through, how do you think you're prepared to step into that role?
Well, thankfully, I have a wonderful support system. I have a wonderful family and friends who support me through this journey. So I have lots of feedback from them and just a lot of support from them. So that helps me a lot.
I don't believe Gypsy has a support system. She has a group of enablers. If they were a support system, she would not be on social media and making a total fool of herself and causing chaos. She seems to love the word journey. She is manufacturing her own journey, in my opinion, creating a non-existent fairy tale life.
And your story has been well documented, and a lot of people have been following your journey and everything that happened. But what do you want people to know and take away from this memoir?
I really just want them to read this memoir and realize that it doesn't matter what you have been through in your life. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and that good things still could happen for you, regardless of the horrors that you may have experienced in your life, because I think everyone relates to trauma in some form or fashion.
This is what makes me dislike Gypsy Rose even more. All this bullshit she's spewing. She is a murderer. I personally do not believe she lived a life of horror. If she feels that meeting celebrities, going to Disney is a life of horrors, give me a break. When I think of people who lived a life of horror or experienced horror, off the top of my head, I think of Elizabeth Smart, I think of the Turpin kids. That is horror. And I know there are countless other people. Being in prison may have been a life of horror for Gypsy, but that is what she brought upon herself. That's the choice she made.
Well, for about 23 years of your life or so, it was basically, you could describe it as a nightmare, right?
Right.
How were you able to move on or move forward? Do you think about the past? Do you think about your mother?
I mean, of course. I'm in extensive therapy, and I work through my past by going through that therapy, and it's going to be a long journey. It's nothing that I will be able to get over in one day, so it's going to be a lifelong healing process for me.
She agrees to describing her 23 years as a nightmare. Once again, going to Disney was a nightmare, meeting your favorite celebrities was a nightmare, swimming with the dolphins was a nightmare, having a home that was given to you was a nightmare. Okay, Gypsy. When she was asked about her mother, her reaction was odd. She seemed agitated and looked down and began getting very fidgety. It was weird. When she speaks or is asked about her mom, she always seems to be annoyed. And this is not the first time I've noticed that. And does one classify online therapy once a week as extensive therapy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, please.
You say you want to be an influence for change. Can you talk about that? What do you mean by that? And did that experience in prison highlight the fact that you want to be an influence for change?
Absolutely. I feel like there is a lot of positive change that could happen if given the ability.
Gypsy wants to be an influence for change. Hello? Everything starts from within, Gypsy Rose. You were given the ability. So why haven't you made change? The only change that I have seen is the change in the color of your hair, and that was done to get a man back. Because allegedly, your Chad likes blondes. Way to go, Gypsy Rose. Gypsy also had her nose redone and got new teeth. And all that is superficial. From what I see, and through Gypsy's own actions, she is still that woman that planned the death of her mother.
And so I think that there is a lot of things in our justice system that needs to be addressed. So I am an advocate for prison reform, but also for abuse victims. I feel like I was in a situation where I didn't know that there were resources to help children and, victims of abuse in my situation. And so I think that needs to be advocated more, those resources, and more knowledge and education about that.
She stated she is an advocate for prison reform. I have not seen Gypsy advocate for no one. No, let me back up. She did try to advocate for a BFF Amelia Bird, but she did get shut down. And from where I sit, the only thing I have seen Gypsy advocate for is herself. Do you guys remember she made a post stating that no one should ask her to advocate because she is healing? Let me read that post for you to refresh your memory. Don't ask me to relieve, I think she meant relive, my trauma for your personal curiosity. Don't demand to know answers to questions that have no relevance in your life. Don't expect me to have overcome my past on your time. Don't tell me about mistakes and choices when I am who has to live with them on my conscience. Don't project what you want me to do because you find it more interesting. I am not a celebrity. I am a trauma survivor who is healing from emotional, mental, and medical abuse. I have shared my story in the hopes it would educate about Munchausen by proxy and inspire other survivors, only to have my abuse be invalidated by content creators on social media who do not have any psychological education to back up their claims, despite multiple psychiatrists specializing in MBP, such as Dr. Mark Feldman, who interviewed for 2017's HBO Mummy Dead and Dearest. After reviewing my medical records obtained for my case, he had high belief that my mother indeed had MBP. Don't ask me to advocate. I am healing. So, Gypsy, have you completed your healing process?
Yeah, talk about that, because you say in and out of prison, your platform you're using right now to really spread the message that there needs to be change and there is hope, as you were mentioning. But talk about your time in prison and the learning aspect you went through in terms of finding what resources were available and learning a lot for yourself about what lies ahead.
Of course, I mean, there are resources that are within the prison system, but getting those resources are actually quite difficult. And so I think that there needs to be very, very specific things that are laid out because it is very difficult for incarcerated individuals to get the extensive mental health therapy that they would require. So there needs to be more advocacy on that.
I see she chose her words very wisely because she said that there needs to be extensive therapy. Because Gypsy Rose doesn't want to be caught in a lie because she knows that she denied therapy while she was in prison and didn't deny it once. Allegedly, she denied it twice.
You talked about something that you hadn't mentioned until recently, how you were actually addicted to painkillers, right? That was something that many people didn't know. I was wondering, at the time that the murder of your mother happened, were you under the influence of the painkillers? Were you high? Did that influence what occurred that night?
I was, during that week, abusing painkillers. However, that was not something that affected my mental state at that time.
Interesting. It's fascinating to me that for so many years, you went along with this fabricated story, right? And I guess I have a hard time understanding how, when you would go visit doctors, because you did extensively, how those doctors weren't unable to see the truth, that you actually could walk, that you didn't need a feeding tube, that you didn't need these drugs you were given. I mean, it's just baffling to me. How was someone out there not saying, wait a minute, she doesn't need any of this stuff, this is all a lie?
I know. The level of deception that my mother had over these doctors was so extensive and so severe that these doctors would ignore test results coming back normal and things like this, things that should have been red flags. And unfortunately, I was one of the individuals of many that fall through the cracks.
So do you find those doctors in any way responsible for carrying on and allowing your mother then in a way to carry on this lie?
You know, I'd kind of chalk that up to human error. I think we all want to believe the good in people. So, you know, I struggle with that. It is something that, yes, I do feel like they should be held accountable in ways. And other ways, I also feel like it was misjudgment on their part.
Gypsy has the same level of deception till this day of her mother, in my opinion. Question to anyone out there that knows this case very well. Which doctors gave Gypsy treatment that was not necessary? Which doctors missed the red flags? Because, to my knowledge, and through records, all the procedures given to Gypsy was because she needed them. And how come, Gypsy, you feel that you want those doctors to be held accountable? Held accountable for what? They did no wrong. If they did, you would have had attorneys lining up. But unfortunately not. You just hear crickets because those doctors did no wrong. Gypsy fell through her own crack and felt that she could take the law into her own hands. And in the interim of that, fuck someone else's life up. And that's exactly what she did. She fucked Nicholas Goldejohn's life up. And miss me with the bullshit of saying that she chalks it up to what the doctors did as human error. You know where the human error was made? It was made by the parole board for letting Gypsy out of prison. I gave her grace to show that she's a changed person. She wants a good life. But through her own actions, she proved me wrong.
What do you think? Do you think there needs to be reform in the medical healthcare system as well? And what has helped you the most since being out of prison in terms of helping to rehabilitate your life?
Of course, I think that there should be more red tape within the medical system. I think that it should be a requirement for doctors to take a certain course while going through medical school on Munchausen by proxy syndrome. And I think that, you know, in general, there needs to be more advocacy and more awareness about Munchausen by proxy syndrome. And yes, I have an amazing support system that gets me through all of this. I've been out of prison for 10 months, and so far that has been a very eventful 10 months. So the support system that I have has been my inspiration for continuing to push on and go beyond my means of just being an average person, and hopefully can move on into being a voice for change.
It hasn't even been a year, but once you came out, you became a viral sensation, and you have a huge social media following. So I think, you know, that's something difficult to adjust to, even if you didn't have everything that you've had in your life. That's for sure. Thank you for coming by.
Gypsy has no leg to stand on talking about change or reform in the medical system, let alone prison reform, when she herself refused the tools and help in prison that was at her disposal for her to better herself. If she wanted to bring more awareness about Munchausen syndrome by proxy, it would have worked in her favor if she had just come clean and acknowledged and told the public that her mother did not suffer from Munchausen and that her mother used her medical condition to malinger. But because Gypsy liked the lifestyle and the perks that came with that, she continued the grift, in my opinion. Gypsy has no soul. Gypsy is apathetic. She is selfish and a professional con artist that she chose to continue to be. Gypsy has been out of prison for 10 months and has shown no growth except in her belly, because that is the only thing she has achieved and done so successfully, by trapping a man. And it is not lost on anyone the chaos and drama that she has been causing online. Gypsy is not an average person. She is a murderer. And if Gypsy wants to be a voice for change, Gypsy has to realize you have to change. I will get into the appearance she made at the San Francisco University in another video, but for now, that is it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Please be safe out there, be kind to one another, and don't forget, make good memories. Bye, guys.